Thanks for being here today.
No problem.
And welcome to the Mitches podcast. Today I have Desirée Walsh. How's it going?
Good.
How's your day been so far?
Pretty good.
Did you adjust okay to daylight savings?
Yeah, I did. I don't have any kids, so
Yeah.
It's I think it's okay if you don't have any kids or like aren't working like shift work in a steel mill.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm trying to think of like jobs where if you're sleep deprived, you could cause an accident.
Like surgeon, doctor, bus
Yeah.
driver.
Don't drive your bus if you didn't get a good night's sleep.
Steel mill worker.
Steel mill worker. Oil rig.
Yeah.
What else is going on with you lately?
Not too much. Me and Kelly Zemeckis still have our once a month show on the last Monday of every month at the Imperial Pub.
Oh, sweet.
Called Happy Hour.
I haven't been to yours, but I've been to the Imperial Pub, and I love that room.
It's a good room. It's also wheelchair accessible.
Nice. It's all one floor.
Yeah. There's a library upstairs, but for the show purposes, it is in the back room, and they have a wheelchair accessible bathroom on the main floor.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is like the ongoing struggle for you.
It is.
Do we want to shout out all the clubs you can go to?
Yeah. So for clubs, it's Comedy Bar Danforth.
And
Thank you.
The end.
And then for like smaller venues, smaller venues are, and they mostly have open mics. Lost Craft Brewery, Kelsey Ryan hosts Comedy for Girls every second Tuesday. That's accessible. Small's Kitchen the bathroom is up a bunch of stairs, but they have a portable ramp, and that's an open mic on Mondays. Joe Arsenal hosts it. And then Groove Bar, which has open mics and stuff, is not fully accessible in that their bathroom's in the basement, but there's no stairs to get in. And then our friend Janice Israeloff hosts a comedy show at the Flying Squirrel Motorcycle Club the first Sunday of every month at 2 p.m. And then she has another open mic at the Greenwood Cafe.
Amazing. And is the corner accessible?
Oh, yes. I forgot. The corner is accessible. I have never been, but I hear it is accessible. And that is a club. So it is for clubs, the corner and Comedy Bar Danforth.
Amazing.
Thank you.
That was, I think, my favorite shout out that we've done on this pod. Usually it's just me mentioning Keys.
Is that the one in the guy's house?
Yeah, but he's relocating, so maybe he'll end up being accessible.
Yeah, maybe.
And actually, right now, I think it's going on in a secret location, which may be secretly accessible.
His friend who has an accessible apartment.
Fuck, I'm going to ask him if his secret location is accessible. We'll
it
find
probably
out.
Isn't. Like, I would bet all of my money it is not. And that's no, like, slight to him. It's more of a Toronto building thing.
Is there improvement in Toronto overall, or has it just stayed the same over time?
So it probably has improved, like, from, like, back in the day. So that's good. We really, like, unfortunately with accessibility, like, you really need buy-in from the city to make your city accessible to the disabled, which means you really need buy-in from the province, which really also means you need buy-in from the country. And our current our current government in Ontario, I mean, prove me wrong. Call in Doug Ford. Call in right now. But I don't think accessibility is really a priority for them.
Is there anywhere you know of that's like a mecca for accessibility?
Vancouver is surprising. Like Vancouver, British Columbia is surprisingly wheelchair accessible. I shot my episode of Comedy Invasion there, and it is surprisingly accessible, and I think that has a lot to do with their weather and their climate, and then also when they hosted the Olympics in, I think, 2010.
Yeah. Because when you host the Olympics, you always get the Paralympics.
Yes, you do. So I think they did a lot of work to make sure it was accessible for like the Paralympics and also like tourism. Yeah, so I think like I don't believe there's any like actual data on like what is the most accessible place in the world for the disabled. There should be.
Yeah.
I don't believe there is. If there is, contact Karen at the podcast. And, let me know because I would like to read it. But yeah, no, I don't think there is. And then this will probably change given like the government in the United States now. I mean, he openly rolled back DEI, so I don't think I'm telling like tales out of school. The America has the Americans with Disabilities Act, and like that was I mean, I think given the government they have now, it will change, but up until this point it was, I wouldn't say phenomenal, but compared to what Canada has, it was a lot better. Canada doesn't have a federal disability like or accessibility law. They only have provincial laws, and the one in Ontario, it's really more of a suggestion. Like there's no consequences or punishment. Again, I don't think I'm like telling stories. Like this is real. Like if we started a comedy club and we for some reason decided that we wanted to make it accessible, there are like building codes and like building suggestions, and we could look at that. But if we decided it was too expensive to make it accessible, we could just build it, and then really the only way we'd get in trouble is if somebody like myself came and tried to get into the club and then couldn't, and then they filed a human rights complaint with like the Canadian Council of Human, like the tribunal, I forget exactly what they're called, and then they would have to like deem that complaint, I guess, valuable or necessary, and then they would investigate it. And like I've heard stories, I think it's getting better, but I've heard stories of people like waiting up to like 4 years to get their complaint investigated. And then if the comedy club was still running that we made, we would then have to prove that there's just absolutely no way we could make this accessible, usually through like financial records. So it's a whole big thing, and like people with disabilities, like it gets exhausting being like, I gotta go find like, people are not like, contrary to popular rumor, people with disabilities are not running around looking for places that are inaccessible to sue and take legal action on. And like a lot of times you don't win. So like the idea that like it's somehow like, excuse me while I get up on my soapbox, the idea that somehow it is easy or fun to be disabled because if anybody crosses you, you can just like file a human rights complaint or sue them. Like it doesn't exactly work that way. Like you have to have a lot of evidence to prove that you've been discriminated against, both in like built environment but also like in terms of employment. Like you can't just be like, pizza didn't hire me, I bet it's because I'm disabled. world. Let's go. No, like you actually have to have like actual like evidence that Pizza didn't hire Pizza. Yeah. I don't believe they've ever been involved in a scandal. I shouldn't be calling out businesses by name in my examples. Yeah. But I think please don't sue us.
Yeah. I feel like my work didn't know we weren't accessible because we have like a accessible bathroom stall, but it wasn't until someone worked there that went to use it. And so I'd worked there. We'd been on that floor for like years. And then this woman started working for us. And then that's when we found out our bathroom wasn't accessible.
That happens a lot.
Because it looked accessible, right? Like there was a big stall at the end, but like when we actually tested it, which I guess no one tests it when they build it. So
why would you do something smart like that? Also, it is possible that like they had like wheelchairs vary, and I think there's actual measurements of what an accessible stall is supposed to be. I don't know them.
Yeah.
But sometimes depending on your wheelchair, like if your wheelchair is smaller, it might fit, but it's possible they didn't, and they were just like, well, we got a sticker. We got a sticker of the wheelchair and we put a bar up, so that's okay.
Is the parking better?
Oh, that is true. 100%. The parking is better. That is a true stereotype that disabled parking is better.
But pregnant women are trying to steal it from you.
Yeah, I guess so. I haven't heard of any beefs with the pregnant women or anything.
There's no long-standing feud.
Yeah,
with the pregnant
like it's not like a West Side Story situation where like a bunch of people in wheelchairs are shaking down some pregnant ladies. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned a TV show that you did in Vancouver, Comedy Invasion?
Yeah.
So what was that?
So a person named Quentin Lee, who is a Asian Canadian, but he lives in Los Angeles, made a show called Comedy Invasion, but like with invasion spelled Asian. And he used, I'm getting somewhere with this. I am not Asian. And he made this show with American Asian comics, and it was quite successful. Like, I think they were able to sell it to like an American network. And then he thought it would be fun, because he is Canadian, to do like a diverse comedy series with not just Asians, but like queer people. I mean, I understand intersectional identity, but like he thought it would be interesting to do like a special with not just Asian comedians, but like maybe comedians of different representations and minorities, and that's how I was on Comedy Invasion season 2. My episode is Wheelchair and I, and it was all Canadian comedians from kind of across the country, mostly like the West Coast, but we had people from Victoria Banner from Alberta, and like me from Ontario, and then most of the other comics were from the West Coast, like BC. And that was good, and he flew me out to BC, and
sorry, keep going.
We each got like a half an hour episode to do stand-up comedy.
So did you do stand-up for half an hour?
I did.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
Yes.
And then where can we watch this?
That is on Amazon in America, Tubi in Canada, and Roku.
Roku.
Yeah.
Which is like a Tubi.
Yes. I believe Roku comes with your TV. It's kind of like a streaming, like...
Oh, so I might have it?
Yeah. If you have a newer TV, you might have it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I do not know a lot about the inner workings of Roku.
It sounds like a Japanese monster. right?
Yeah, but it is.
Roku has destroyed our city.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, I feel like you're killing it. Like, just in terms of stuff that you've done so far. Like, you also have an album out.
I do. I put out an album 2 years ago. It's called Everybody Panic, with Howl and Roar Records. And it was on the top albums of 2004 on NPR's Bullseye podcast.
What?
Yeah, no, it was good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's Everybody Panic. Is that like, are you talking a lot about the state of the world?
No. I have very high anxiety and cannot regulate my emotions. So kind of my go-to is just utter panic. And yeah, and it just kind of fit. Like, when I made this album, I had no idea what was going to happen with the state of the world.
Yeah.
It was just like a completely self-indulgent, like, I said everybody panic all the time, so I'm going to make it my album. And then the world was kind of like, we like that.
Yeah.
We're going to take it.
So I've been doing better in like recent years, but I used to have a really bad anxiety disorder, like specifically panic disorder, and a lot of agoraphobia. So like when it wasn't too bad, it would just be like fear of like transit and like maybe like crowded spaces.
Yeah.
But when it was really bad, it was just like I didn't even want to leave my house. And then when COVID happened, I really thought about like how like that would have been so horrific during my, like, you know what I mean? Like when you think about like normal things that are upsetting for everyone, and then if you're also struggling mentally, like just the ability to hang on is so intense.
Yeah.
Although I would have liked, I kind of prayed sometimes for a world where we didn't have to leave the house. So.
And then we got it.
But too late for me.
Yeah.
Have you had agoraphobia at all?
I have not had agoraphobia. I just have like generalized anxiety. Like, I think because like I push a wheelchair with my hands, and like my hands are almost, they're clean all, like I carry hand sanitizer and stuff and they're clean today, but like your hands are almost always dirty, so like it kind of beats the germophobia out of you. And then like yeah, and like there's just like sort of a thing of like I have to be brave.
Yeah, it's like a much more vulnerable state, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I have other forms of anxiety, so like that helps, I guess. But I've never been like afraid to leave my house based on like germs or just like other environmental factors. I mean, COVID was pretty scary because at one point like we didn't know what was causing it, and like we were pretty sure it was both in the air and on surfaces.
yeah.
And like that, just as a person, like that was kind of concerning.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
It's funny though how things change, because then you look back and you're like, why did we wipe down our groceries? And it's like, because we didn't know.
Yeah, like we didn't know. Like I remember at the beginning of COVID, and I kind of like this, like 3 days a week they would like Zamboni the hall with like a bleach sprayer in my apartment because they weren't sure if COVID lived on surfaces.
Yeah.
And I mean, I thought that was good. I mean, we now discovered it lives in the air, which is arguably worse, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you ride transit?
So I used to a lot, and then Uber became wheelchair accessible, and then when Uber first started and it was wheelchair accessible, it was super duper cheap. And at the time I worked on Bay Street, and I live like, so like I could get to work for under like I think it was like $3, and it was
God.
just like, why am I paying like $3 to fight with a bus driver when like I could just have a car come pick me up at my home? So then I used to take Uber to work, and then I used to there was a bus right in front of our work, and I used to take that home and then walk from College Park. And then in the winter, like, it's harder to do that because they don't move the snow. So then I just started taking Uber all the time because it was super cheap. So why not? And then they raised the prices, and I was addicted to it. So now I can't stop.
Shit, they get you.
Yeah, they did. That startup math really worked.
Fuck. Okay, did you grow up in Toronto?
So I lived here till I was 5, and then we moved to Waterloo. And I lived in Waterloo like till I was 18, and then I went to Brock University in St. Catharines for my undergrad, and then I have an undergrad in philosophy, so you can't really, like, they should have had my graduation directly in the unemployment office. So then I went to Centennial College to get a post-diploma in human resources.
Nice.
And I stayed in Toronto because I thought it would be easier to get a job. And some of my friends lived here. And then that is how I ended up being a Toronto person.
I feel like I know a lot of people who did some kind of like post thing at Centennial College, and that's how they got their job. Like, because a lot of people have some kind of degree you can't apply into any real job, but then there's all these programs. For some reason, it's always Centennial.
It's a good school. Like, I've heard things, but like I really liked it. Like, I think going to school, like, I also went and got my master's several years later at OCAD University in inclusive design. And like, one of the things I noticed, like, I mean, when I went to Centennial College, I wasn't super old. I think I was maybe like 23. But like, the difference between going to school, like, to higher education, like straight out of high school, versus like going to school as an adult is so much better.
Yeah.
Just because you kind of know how things work. So when people try to jerk you around, you're like, no, like, of course not.
It's funny, like, you don't have to be very old at school to be old. Like, to feel different from the young kids. Like, I guess those are just like such critical years.
Yeah.
But wait, OCAD.
Yes.
How was that?
It was good. I really liked the program. The inclusive design program was good. I don't know if it's like this anymore, but one of the things that was really unique when I went there is like they weren't necessarily focused on academics. They were more focused on like you as a person. So you didn't necessarily have to have like a traditional BA with like an average of 95 with like 87 extracurriculars that involved like feeding starving children and building like orphanages in Africa. So that like, and their idea was because we want to make higher education accessible to everyone. So I did have a BA, but like I didn't have like super great marks, but I was still able to get into the program based off like my personal passion for accessibility. And then I had like work experience. I worked for the Toronto District School Board as an on-call admin assistant for a little bit. And then I was working on a project there to help make a list of the schools that were accessible for employees that were working on call, because quite often I would have to turn down jobs because there was no central list of schools that were accessible, and like all the calls go out at night or like really early in the morning.
Yeah.
So that was problematic.
Yeah, and there's so much subbing in schools.
Yeah.
Fuck. So did you like just like being at OCAD, like the whole arty?
I did. So
like, I guess your program was more practical.
Yeah,
but...
like it was more of like a professional, I forget what those are called, but like everyone in my class had like, most of them had some form of day job or were a little bit older. Like we weren't like smoking pot in the quad.
And, like, wearing a beret.
Yeah, and like we weren't like we talked about like social justice things, but like it wasn't like being in like I would assume doing an undergrad at OCAD is very different than what I experienced.
Yeah.
But I did really like it.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Also, again, like going to school as a grown up is so much different than going to school like 18, 19 years old, like out of high school. I think now kids are even younger. I am 1,000 friends at home. I am 1,000. So like I had like grade 13 and stuff. Yeah. So I was almost 19 when I went into undergrad.
Yeah. I also had grade 13.
Yeah.
I think my class might have been, the year behind me might have been the first year that didn't have it.
Yeah, that was the same with me. So I think we are maybe the same age.
Nice.
Yeah.
So then when you started doing comedy, were you still teaching, or not teaching, but were you still with the school board?
No. So what happened is while I was doing my master's at OCAD, I got a job in a bank, working in anti-money laundering.
Oh, fuck. As
an investigator. And that's a really interesting, like if you ever want to work in a bank, apply to anti-money laundering jobs as like like a junior investigator or like an entry-level investigator, because all of the training is like on the job, and like I mean they'll take like obviously financial background preferred, but all of the training is on the job, and like it's a lot of like critical thinking skills are really valued. So while I was doing my master's, I got a job in a bank, and I was working, and this was like my first like full-time like decent paying job. So I had some extra money, and I had a lot of time because I used to swim. Like I used to be a competitive swimmer when I was a teenager, and like I swam all the way through university and all the way through college. And then I got this job, and it was the first time in my life that I had like free time and also money.
Were you not swimming anymore at this point?
No. Yeah, no, I was like 20. Like, oh no, I was in my 30s by this time.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had money, and then I had a friend who had a roommate who was taking Second City classes, in stand-up comedy, and she met a lovely man, and they are now married with 2 kids and like live in a condo in downtown Toronto. And I was like, I would like to meet somebody too. So I went off to my stand-up course with my money and my hopes of finding my life partner. I did not find my life partner, but I found whatever this is, and I think we can agree that's so much better than unconditional love and friendship.
Oh my God. I feel like, yeah, I do think Second City is where people meet their spouses a lot. I know other people who met the one, like, because it's just a lot of people who have spare time, going to do something fun, and then it's a great place to make friends.
Neither of those people do stand-up comedy anymore, but I believe
they don't need it. They have love.
Yeah, they're in a very happy marriage, I believe. Yeah, they found love, so they don't need fulfillment in dark basements.
Did you feel like finding stand-up was like a calling, or?
I guess, like, one of the consistent things I've heard through my life, like in jobs and stuff, is you are very funny, but you're not very smart, which I don't think is true, but like, consistently, like, I've heard, like, you are very funny, and like, even before I did stand-up, like, people would always be like, you should do stand-up, and then I think one day a girl at work said, like, you should do stand-up, and I was like, I don't even know, like, how to reverse engineer that, and I think you have to be a boy, and I'm not a boy, And she was like, I think there's courses like at Comedy Bar or something. And so I called Comedy Bar, and they were like, yeah, we're not wheelchair accessible, but like Second City would be.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you seen any Second City shows lately?
Not lately, but before I've seen like a couple like back in the day.
Yeah.
And then before I ever did stand up, myself and some friends, we were just looking for something to do. They were in town because they both worked for the school board and they were on March break, and we decided to go see like a Second City improv show, I guess.
Yeah.
Like the sketch show. This was like eons before I even thought about doing stand up. And it like I liked it. It was good. It was surprisingly wheelchair accessible. I described it as it would be a good place to take a date that you're not very interested in. But your sister says to try new things. But yeah, I liked it. And then like I haven't seen maybe officially like Second City shows, but
Yeah.
lots of people put on like comedy shows or do like one woman shows in the, I don't know what it's called now, but it used to be like the John Candy Light Box.
It is still called that.
Okay.
Like they have a new venue now, but
I haven't been yet. I'd like to go.
It's really good. I went, like I've been there more recently because I was doing classes there, but then I just saw one of their sketch shows at Christmas.
Yeah.
And like, it's one of those things I feel like you forget about it, and then when you go see something there, you're like, oh fuck, this is always here. It's always good.
Yeah.
So you were, I guess, like 6 years into comedy when you recorded your album.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, because 8 minus 2 is 6.
So what was the thing, like, how did you know you were ready to record your album?
Oh, well, I didn't. As the pandemic hit a couple years ago, and we were all in lockdown, and initially, like, my idea was I was just gonna, like, eat cheese in a bag, and, like, the bank was not prepared for moving everyone to work at home. Like, we had always been told, like, you will never work from home, and then the pandemic hit, and they were like, you're all working from home, kids. And anyways, they were not prepared for that. So we, at one point in the pandemic, we were doing, like, split shifts, and then I think that came to a head because people have kids, so like they can't be doing like, I think it was like 9 a.m. to noon and then like 5 p.m. till midnight.
What?
Or something like that. And then at one point it was like 5 p.m. Yeah, like something crazy like that. But then that stopped, and then Kelly Zemeckis, who is one of my best friends in stand-up comedy, was like, there's all these really cool Zoom shows, you might like it. And I was just like, no, I can't. And then she was like maybe you could just try one. And then so I tried one. It was by Canadian stand-up comedian Andy Wong. I don't know if you've met him. He's very nice. He runs a show in a condo. And he did one. So I tried that, and it was just as we thought, like things were gonna get better.
Yeah.
And I did it, and it was so much fun, and it was so good. And I remember just lying in my bed thinking, like, Desiree, you have missed an opportunity. Like there are no barriers with Zoom, and like you've missed this opportunity to make all these networking connections and really hone your craft, because you're such a close-minded idiot. And then the universe just went, hold my beer. Oh, and things just got so bad again. And I mean, I feel for the world and everyone else, but then I just went, like, there's a whole Zoom community of comedians, and like I made friends with people in the US, and like I started doing, like, I went from doing stand-up like maybe once a week if I was lucky, to doing like 3 to 6 mics a night, and then doing like show like Zoom shows on the weekends or like shows like but like 3 to 6 times a night of doing stand up. So I got really good at, like, not to toot my own horn, but toot. I got really good at stand up comedy. Like really good. And then Dan Rosen. Do you know who Dan Rosen is?
No.
He's great. You should have him on your podcast.
Okay.
He's a comedian. He has kids, and he also has Crohn's disease. He talks about it on stage. I'm not like outing Dan.
Imagine you did. I mean, he seems nice, but
he has Crohn's disease. No, but he has like a whole fringe show called Game of Crohn's that you guys could talk about. Anyways, Dan Rosen was like, why don't you record an album on Zoom with Kelly Zemeckis? And I was like, who's gonna buy it? And he was like, I think people would. So anyways, we decided to record an album on Zoom, and this was fitting because at the time there weren't really spaces for me to do that in person.
Yeah.
So we recorded the album on Zoom, and Dan invited Allison Dorr from Howl and Roar to the show. And after that, me and Allison had a meeting, and Allison said that she thought the album was great and this was a really great story, but like because of the way Zoom files are formatted, like you can't put them on the radio. Like it's not compatible with like basically you can't make like a commercial, like an album that you plan to sell, even if you have like the greatest sound people in the entire world. You can't make an album on Zoom. And then so with her though, then me and Kelly made plans to like tape a real album.
Is Howl and Roar, are they a record label?
Yeah, they are. I should have explained that. They're a record label that mostly focuses on, I think, women stand-ups and minorities. They do a lot of promotion of women in comedy, which is perfect for me because I'm a woman in comedy.
Yeah, I like their name too.
Yeah, it's good. And then so they helped us produce the album, and like what is good about that is like I don't know anything about like audio or like producing or anything, so they did like all the hard stuff. Like they had the sound guy and they found the venue, because initially I was like, we could do it at the Rivoli, and she was like, do you know the Rivoli has very bad sound quality? And I was like, I did not.
I don't know anything like that. Sometimes people will say something to me, they'll be like, the acoustics in here, and I'm like you could be talking about my aura. I don't fucking know.
I don't really know anything about acoustics. So then they helped us find a wheelchair accessible venue. I forget what it was. It was like an art gallery. Shoot, I should remember this. I don't, but it was a really great art gallery that was wheelchair accessible. And then they also did the like mixing and the sounds, which is good because I don't know how to do that. And then they like sent it to Sirius XM and stuff like that. Like they sent it to the radio stations, and I am told that it is on the radio. Like my album is, you can hear it on Sirius XM and stuff like that. I have never heard it, but people say they have, and that's good enough.
That's
for
amazing.
Me.
I love it.
Yeah.
Did they film it or just record it?
No, I have the film recording somewhere, but it's not, like, I don't think I posted it anywhere. But it's available, like, anywhere you get music, friends at home, and you should listen to it.
So I could look on Spotify.
You could. It's there.
And it's Panic.
Everybody Panic. Or you can just search Desirée Walsh.
Oh, nice.
And you will see a cartoon picture of me in a giraffe onesie.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Do you know what it reminds me of? Did you ever see that episode of 30 Rock where, like, Tracy Jordan is on Larry King Live, and then there's like something happens in like the Asian markets, and then Tracy just starts going like, everybody panic, and then he's like, begin preparing your bodies for the Thunderdome.
Yeah, it's a lot like that. It's a lot like that. That's how I live my life. So something has happened in the Asian market, and we need to prepare our bodies for the Thunderdome.
I'm just trying to think, like, I feel like, I don't know, it must be an incredible feeling just to have like that album recorded and to be able to say like, this is mine.
It is. It's as you know, as a fellow comedian, comedy's all about pettiness and throwing things in people's faces. So it is nice to have that album recorded with a record label, so I can be like, listen, I have an album. Because, yeah, comedy's about throwing things in people's faces and making things into credits that really aren't. Yeah.
Was it harrowing, kind of like getting it into one cohesive, or I guess, was it already kind of a story?
Well, what was good is because of the Zoom recording, like the album trying to record an album on Zoom. There we go. Like I kind of already had it like all laid out, and I had written, like, even though I was like, I'm never going to be able to write new material in the pandemic because nobody rides the bus. Like I'd already written so much new material about the pandemic and stuff. And like, again, because of the recording of the first album on Zoom, like I felt very prepared. And then right around the same time is when I got the Comedy Invasion episode. So right after like I signed the contract for Comedy Invasion, I had to like sit down because they needed 30 minutes and I needed 30 minutes for an album, and like divide basically everything I've ever written up into like what would be good for the Comedy Invasion episode and the album. So then
so the Comedy Invasion was 30 minutes.
Yeah.
How long is the album?
30 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah, so essentially I took an hour of stand-up and made it 2 things.
I love it. And then they're both packaged and like available.
Yeah.
Like in a professional.
Yeah.
I love that so much. But I think the greatest thing that a person can do with their life is to be on reality TV.
Yes.
And you've done that.
I have. I was on it's still
Fuck your album. Tell me about reality TV.
Okay. I was on a show. It's still available on AMI Plus. I was on a show called Breaking Character Season 2 on AMI, which stands for Accessible Media Inc. And it's basically a cable channel that is for people with disabilities. And it started out as like having a lot of described video shows for the blind and visually impaired, or I guess low vision rather. And then like has also kind of branched out into like its own original programming, and they have a show called Breaking Character, and they ran 1 season, and then I guess it was successful because they had another season and I was on it.
I love it.
Yeah. And that was interesting in that like it was kind of like a docu-series.
So it's like following you around in your real life.
Yeah.
Did they follow you to a mic?
They followed me to lots of things. I did a comedy festival in Los Angeles, California, and they came, and that was great. And then,
but did that make it more stressful or less?
No.
Same amount of stress.
So one of the things, and I don't know what it is, because as we've discussed, I worry all the time. Like, I have a lot of anxiety. I don't really get nervous doing stand-up.
That's amazing.
Like, I don't, if it doesn't go well, okay. If it does, great. Like I don't particularly understand people who are like, I bombed at the open mic. You didn't bomb at the open mic. Like, there are no losers. There are no winners at the open mic, so you can't bomb.
It's like playing cards for no money.
Yeah, like, it's okay if you lost Candyland. Like, you'll be all right. Yeah, so I don't really get nervous. Like, the hardest thing about that is I didn't realize, like, because you watch a reality TV show and you're just like, oh, okay. The amount of filming that goes into, like, a reality TV show, like, I thought they had enough footage for a movie. Like, when we got back from LA, they were like, so we need to do these more of these things. And I was just like, what? Like, we literally spent 3 days together. Like,
yeah,
surely you're done.
Leave me alone.
Yeah, and so that was just, like, interesting. And
how long was the episode?
So the episodes, so what it was is they followed, like, it was a bit like Toddlers and Tiaras, but less problematic. And we were all grown up. So they followed, like, 3 or 4 different people, and, like, every episode kind of had, like, little chunks. Like, we'd check in with Desiree, we'd check in with Dave, like, we'd check in with, like, Audrey, like.
So the total amount of time on you is only like a third of the episode.
Yeah.
And it's a half hour.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't have didn't feel. They filmed a lot to get those
but apparently
minutes.
That's what you need to do in like TV production is you film a lot and then you kind of look at what you have and you put it all together.
Yeah.
And see what you come up with. And, like, that was just really surprising to me because, like, I would have thought, like, it wouldn't have taken that long.
Yeah.
And then there was a lot of, that was great. Like, can you do this again?
Making you say the same thing over.
Which was kind of interesting. And then, even though it's reality TV, like, they have somebody kind of write out, like, a beat sheet of, like, what is happening, and, like, that was really interesting because they'd be like, we have this idea, and I'd be like, that's great, no one does that in stand-up. And they'd be like, oh, okay, right because I was actually also on a child show called Dream It to Be It. I was one of the mentors.
Oh, wow.
There was a little boy that wanted to be a stand-up comedian.
Oh, my God.
And so we met at a comedy bar, and I taught him stand-up. But originally...
How old was he?
Almost 12.
Oh, my God. That's so cute.
Almost 12, yeah. It took everything I had not to be, like, a sarcastic, like, bitter old lady.
Yeah.
But I did a good job. I think
that's the specific age range where you're specifically supposed to not be sarcastic with them. Like,
well, and, like, this is what he wanted to do as a grown-up. So me being like, there's more comedians than stage time.
Yeah, or just like first off, most people here are here because they failed at life.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to meet a lot of assholes. Like, and nobody makes it.
Yeah. We're all just here because we're sad. Yeah. Yeah. But during that, they were like, we thought you'd do, like, to warm up, you could do some improv. And I was like, I don't know anything about improv. Yeah. And they were just kind of like, do it anyways. And then, like, at one point we were filming me doing improv with the little boy and the host, and the host was like, do you have any pointers for us? And I was like, no, because I don't know what I'm doing. That was your first time doing improv? Yeah, it was good though. It was good. I liked it. But that was like, we filmed all day, and that was like a 7-minute short between TV shows on, like, TVO. Like, yeah. You know how when we were little they used to have, like, the cartoons? Now they have, like, little, like, shorts.
So, like, you were where, like, that log jammer guy was?
Yeah. I was the log jammer guy. That's my favorite. I still like that.
I do too.
Yeah.
Again, TVO.
Yeah.
Shout out TVO.
Yeah, shout out TVO. Lopi Productions.
Okay, so once you fulfilled your dream of doing reality TV, were you just like, I can't get any happier?
No, I think I could probably do more with my life. Yeah, I could probably do more. Like I think there's probably more out there for me than a Canadian very niche reality TV show.
I know we like kind of shit on like the stand-up community, but like, do you feel like it added to your life?
Like I think it has in some way, because if I didn't like it, I wouldn't be here. Like I'm obviously a masochist because I do stand up, but like I'm not a super masochist. Like if I really didn't like stand up, like I have enough in my life that I could probably walk away from it and be fine.
Yeah.
But like I do enjoy, like I've made some wonderful friends, and like it is, there are a lot of issues, but there are like a lot of wonderful people in there, and like it has built community, and like I have made some wonderful friends. Like Kelly and Janice are really great, and like Kelsey Ryan and like Alice Rose. I'm just gonna name comedians I like, but like there's a good
I
sense
second
of
Janice
community.
and Alice.
Yeah.
I don't know the other two, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's real. Yeah, I make fun of like stand-up comedy a lot, like the people I've met, but I do really like the whole community of it. It's a good time. And it's like some of the stuff like I say, like I'll be like, oh, like comedians are like self-centered, they only care about themselves. But then I'm like, I actually do like being friends with people who are self-focused and ambitious, because I don't want people to pay too much attention to me. Like within my friend circle, like I want people to be focused on their own things.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of, I guess I have the feeling like I ended up in a space where I belong.
Yeah. I can see that.
But do you ever think like, oh, I wish this was more like the swimming community?
No, because swimmers have to get up really early in the morning, and like one of the things I really like about stand-up is it's typically done at night, and you can have a beer and eat French fries, and like you could, if you were coming to swim practice with an open beer and a plate of French fries, it would just be like, we're calling the police. Like, you're not okay.
Fuck, that really is the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Like the early morning, jumping in a pool cold.
Yeah. Like once in stand-up, I was asked why I worked every day. And I feel like that's not a question you would get in swimming. Yeah.
I feel like, though, it's the success rate, the kind of like most people in it don't go anywhere. No?
In stand-up or swimming?
Like the top of swimming is very small.
Oh, yeah. Apparently less than 1% of people become world-class athletes, which, I mean, I don't know the exact statistics of comedians, but I would also say, like, less than 1% become, like, Robin Williams. Yeah.
Who is your favorite big-time comedian?
I like John Mulaney, but everybody makes a face, so then I usually say Whitney Cummings.
I really like John Mulaney too. Like, he's not someone I would name as like my top, but he's just really fucking talented.
Yeah, and I am basically like, if John Mulaney was not the drugs, not like, honestly, not the drugs and not the infidelity, but why does everybody have to go bad? But if you take out the drugs and the infidelity and the fact that he is a man and able-bodied, I'm basically John Mulaney.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's a good guy to be.
Or Three Possums in a Coat, which might also be John Mulaney, given his recent track record.
Did you name someone else?
Whitney Cummings.
Whitney Cummings. I love her too. I feel like I was really, like, 'cause she had a show that was on, And then I kind of forgot about her, but now she's suddenly come up in my TikTok.
Because she has a podcast.
She's good.
I do like the podcast.
Did you watch her show?
Her, like, the sitcom show?
Yeah.
I think I watched maybe a couple of episodes. It was one of those ones that I felt like it was on the air and then we blinked and we missed it.
Yeah.
I did like Two Broke Girls. Like, I did really like, I believe she produced or directed or wrote, or maybe did all three.
She did?
Two Broke Girls.
I never knew that.
Yeah. I think I'm the only person in the world that, like, genuinely thought that show was very good. But I did like it.
It didn't become, like, a major show for me, but it was, like, a good show that I watched a bit.
Yeah.
Fuck. Oh, my God. Okay, so tell me what we should plug for you.
We should plug, definitely listen to my album. It's very good. It's Everybody Panic. If you want to come see me live, happy hour at the Imperial Pub the last Monday of every month. You should come there. We're on Ebright. Follow Kelly Zemeckis on Ebright. That is how you will find out about the show. I think that's basically, like...
And then how's your name on socials?
Oh, so my name on socials, like on Instagram, is Desiree.lisa.walsh. Or hang on. It's Desiree.
Which is DESI.
REE. Let's see. Sorry, friends. What is my name? It's Desiree.lisa.walsh_, and that's my Instagram handle.
Nice.
And
okay.
that is where you can find me. It's just Desiree Walsh on Facebook.
And it's Everybody Panic is the album.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for being on.
Oh, no problem.